A mystery that haunted McLaren's garage in Mexico has finally been solved. A hidden flaw that stole Oscar Piastri's chance to fight at the front. A calm young driver who handled heartbreak like a seasoned world champion. And today, McLaren has told the world exactly what went wrong with the MCL39. From the first practice session, though, something didn't feel entirely right beneath the papaya-colored car. Engineers noticed minor oscillations in the telemetry, small pressure spikes, tiny variations in suspension travel. To the untrained eye, nothing alarming. But to McLaren's data team, it was an echo of instability whispering through the hydraulic system. At that altitude, the air thins, the temperatures swing, and systems that work flawlessly at sea level begin to behave like unpredictable creatures. Still, Piastri adapted instantly, adjusting brake balance and throttle maps with calm efficiency, keeping his MCL39 in the performance window while others struggled with grip. Saturday brought confirmation that his instinct had been right all along. The team's analysis revealed inconsistencies in the rear ride height data, fluctuations of just a few millimeters, enough to disturb the car's aerodynamic balance. Through the fast corners of sectors 2 and 3, the McLaren looked unsettled, twitching slightly on entry, recovering on exit thanks to Piastri's feather-light touch. His radio messages were calm and constructive. Rear feels floaty under braking, maybe hydraulic pressure dropping. Those few words would later prove crucial. That clarity of thought in the middle of competition, that ability to translate sensation into data, is what engineers value above raw speed. When Sunday arrived, the stage was set for a fight that demanded both courage and mechanical sympathy. The Mexican crowd roared, the lights went out, and Piastri launched cleanly, holding position while chaos erupted behind. What the world didn't see in those opening laps was that his car was already beginning to betray him. The hydraulic system that controlled his rear suspension was losing coherence, bleeding pressure so slowly that even McLaren's sensors struggled to catch it in real time. Yet, lap after lap, he adjusted, manually modifying brake points, nursing the tires, managing temperature through sheer finesse. The young Australian was not just driving, he was orchestrating survival. Mid-race, the issue grew worse. The MCL39 began to behave unpredictably in the braking zones, as if a ghost were moving the car's weight distribution at random. Most drivers would have spun or retired. Piastri did neither. His technique became defensive yet elegant, using subtle steering corrections to stabilize a car that no longer obeyed physics. The onboard camera captured a masterclass in adaptability, the hands smooth, the throttle precise, the pace remarkably consistent despite the degradation beneath him. And through the radio came that now famous line, steady and unemotional, "The rear is unstable on entry, but I can manage." Those words embodied his maturity far beyond his years. The story of what truly went wrong began deep within McLaren's data center just minutes after the race ended. Engineers stared at the telemetry lines from Oscar Piastri's car, searching for an answer that, at first glance, made no sense. There was a sequence of pressure drops in the rear hydraulic circuit, barely visible but consistent enough to tell a story of gradual collapse. Each time he braked for the heavy zones into turns 4 and 11, the system's fluid pressure fell by a few bar, then recovered, only to fall again a lap later. It was not dramatic. It was silent. But in Formula One, silence often hides disaster. At first, McLaren suspected a heat-related anomaly. The high altitude of Mexico City, over 2,000 meters above sea level, forces every cooling system to work at its limit. The thin air makes engines run hotter, fluids expand differently, and even brake systems breathe less efficiently. For Piastri, that meant his car was dancing on the edge of thermal instability from the very start. Yet despite that, his lap times barely shifted. The engineers later admitted that his ability to adapt braking force and throttle application lap after lap minimized the performance loss by almost half. That is not luck, that is mastery of control. The telemetry showed something else remarkable. Between laps 20 and 30, while the hydraulic failure was developing, Piastri's corner entry speeds varied by no more than 2 kilometers per hour. To put that in perspective, that level of consistency under mechanical stress is the kind of precision teams expect from world champions at their peak. Every movement was measured. Every correction was deliberate. He was driving a car that no longer trusted itself, yet somehow made it look effortless. From the pit wall, the tension was visible. Engineers whispered, voices low but urgent, trying to decide whether to pit the car or trust the driver's judgment. Then came the calm voice that settled it, "I can manage." That line wasn't bravado, it was confidence built on data. Piastri had read the situation better than any sensor could. His awareness of the car's behavior, his sensitivity to micro changes in balance, were doing the job of a diagnostic tool in real time. Later, when McLaren tore down the hydraulic assembly, the cause became clear. A microscopic crack, barely visible under magnification, had formed in the actuator's titanium housing. It was a tiny imperfection born from stress cycles and heat exposure, a defect that would never have appeared in simulation. The crack grew, allowing fluid to escape under high load, and as pressure fluctuated, the rear suspension's damping rates began to wander unpredictably. It was a mechanical riddle only a driver like Piastri could have solved from the cockpit. For the spectators, it looked like an ordinary race. But in truth, every lap was a battle between a human's touch and a machine's limits. The car was wounded, but the mind inside it was unbreakable. This was not simply damage control. It was a demonstration of what modern Formula One demands: instinct guided by intellect. Oscar Piastri showed that racing intelligence is not about aggression, it is about understanding. He did not just survive the failure. He turned it into a textbook on how to master chaos with grace. When McLaren's engineers finally brought Oscar Piastri's MCL-39 back to the garage in Mexico City, the team began what would become one of their most meticulous post-race inspections of the season. Every inch of the rear suspension assembly was stripped, photographed, and scanned. What they found was a fault so small that it could fit under a fingernail, yet powerful enough to derail an entire weekend. The culprit was a microscopic fracture inside the hydraulic actuator's pressure valve, an element designed to control the flow of fluid that keeps the car's rear suspension balanced through braking and cornering. To understand the magnitude of this failure, imagine how modern Formula One suspension works. Every fraction of a second, hydraulic pressure adjusts the car's ride height by millimeters, stabilizing it like a hovering aircraft. When that system falters, the entire aerodynamic platform becomes unstable. Downforce fluctuates, tire loads shift unpredictably, and the car stops communicating with the driver in the way it should. Most drivers describe it as trying to dance on ice that keeps cracking underfoot. But Piastri managed that dance for over 30 laps, finding grip where none existed. The real cause of the fracture was a perfect storm of physics and environment. At Mexico's altitude, air density drops by nearly a quarter compared to sea level, meaning less cooling for hydraulic lines already operating at extreme pressure. The fluid expanded, the internal temperature rose, and the titanium casing of the actuator flexed ever so slightly. That microscopic flex, repeated hundreds of times per lap, created stress patterns invisible to simulation. Over time, the material surrendered. What began as a hairline imperfection evolved into a leak, destabilizing the car's rear end with every touch of the brake pedal. In that moment, when precision engineering began to unravel, the responsibility shifted entirely to the human inside the cockpit. And that human was exceptional. Piastri instantly recognized that something deeper than balance was at play. While others might have assumed tire degradation, he identified the hydraulic instability from feel alone. His calm voice over the radio, measured, factual, never panicked, became the guiding light for McLaren's engineers on the pit wall. Rear instability growing. Could be hydraulic, he reported. Those words allowed them to narrow the failure window to just a handful of systems before the race had even ended. After the race, Andrea Stella described that feedback as the turning point. In Formula One, data matters, but instinct refined by intelligence matters more. Piastri was not guessing. He was diagnosing at over 200 miles per hour. That ability to translate sensation into technical language is the rarest skill a driver can possess. It transforms a racer into an engineer behind the wheel, and that is exactly what Oscar Piastri was in Mexico, a driver who not only endured a failure but helped his team understand it. And while the actuator's tiny fracture brought an end to McLaren's hopes that Sunday, it also revealed something far more significant. It proved that under pressure, in one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar, Piastri could remain both surgeon and soldier, precise, composed, unshakably analytical. The machine had failed. The man had not.